think we have a very good turnout, so we can go ahead and start, Meg. Thanks all.
All right. Okay, great. So thank you everyone for joining us today. We're really excited to be holding our first event from SPE London's Digital Transformation Committee, and it is going to be a good one. We're hosting a panel discussion on opportunities and challenges of the OSDU initiative, a perspective from experts on the ground. We have an incredibly knowledgeable and talented panel with us here today, so we're really looking forward to hearing from them about this exciting platform. Before we dive right in, I'll just quickly introduce myself as your moderator for this evening. So I'm Meghan Davies, and I'm a geoscientist by background. And for the past 3 to 4 years, I've been part of CGG's Data Hub as an operations head working on digital transformation projects in the energy industry. I'm also technical advisor as part of the SPE London Digital Transformation Committee. So before we dive right in, we are going to share a poll with everybody. So I should just hand over to Ragged, and that's popped up. So do you think OSDU implementation should become a part of all energy organizations' roadmaps? So you have yes, it's a clear objective in our technology adoption roadmap, or no, it's just another industry-wide collaboration that we are yet to see working. So please submit your votes, and we'll just give that a couple more seconds there.
Megan, can you confirm that you're seeing changes in the votes, like percentages?
Yeah, I can.
Good, thanks.
I can see that so far 68%, 70% have participated. So we'll just give it a couple seconds more, and I can, if I hit end poll, you might be able to see the results now. Does that come up? I think you can share the results as well there.
Yeah.
So I am glad to see it is yes, but obviously there is, I guess, around a third that are yet to have an uptake in this. So hopefully through our panel discussion today, we can convince you into that as well, and you can learn a little bit more about it. So before I hand over to our panel to introduce themselves, I'm just going to give a very quick basic overview of the OSDU for those that may be new to it. So OSDU stands for Open Subsurface Data Universe. Acting as a technology-agnostic, standards-based data platform, the OSDU has reduced energy data silos and provided the capability for application developers to build new solutions and data ingestion services. Today, not only operator companies find the adoption of this platform a critical step towards solving data exchange issues, tech giants are helping the energy industry to achieve global digital excellence by providing a suite of OSDU solutions. But I think, as a lot of us know, overcoming energy data challenges is no easy task. And today we want to hear from our panel of energy and technology experts on how they tackle these challenges by adopting, contributing, and boosting the capabilities of the OSDU platform. And for a much better and more comprehensive overview than I could ever give, I'd like to guide you all to a blog post by one of our panelists, Einar. It's a really interesting read, so I recommend everybody to have a little read, and we'll drop that in the chat for everybody to link to as well. So please have a read of that afterwards. And before we get into our discussion, I'll now hand over to our panel to introduce themselves. So I'll start with Einar, you're on the top of my screen there.
Okay, thank you very much. Einar Landre, Equinor. I'm a computer scientist by background. Still spend more than half my life outside oil and gas. So I think that's a part of giving me some sort of balance. And I'm basically filling the position as being Equinor's focal point in OSDU. And I've been part of the OSDU journey before it became OSDU, put it that way.
Great, thank you for your introduction. Let's move to Emma.
Good afternoon, morning, evening to you all, depending on where you are. It's great to be here, and I'd like to thank the SPE for the invitation. Thank you. I've actually been a member of SPE since I began my career in 1997, so it's a pleasure to remain part of such an important group. My name is Emma Wild. I'm a managing director with Accenture based in London. I lead Accenture's energy consulting practice in the UK, but I also lead OSDU globally. My background is reservoir engineering, and I've got over 26 years of industry and consulting experience, all in E&P and subsurface. My role in Accenture is to help set our strategy and to develop the capability for how we help our clients navigate their subsurface transformation and their OSDU strategy. So try to address some of the challenges that I think we're going to discuss here today. To support this, we focus on 3 areas. Accenture is strongly committed to the OSDU Forum, where we contribute and lead in a number of priority areas, such as business continuity and external data sources. We've set up an OSDU COE with subsurface experts and experienced developers, where we support the delivery and development of tools and accelerators for data migration and application interoperability. And we have strong partnership strategy with our ecosystem partners, Microsoft and Schlumberger here today, but also we work closely with AWS and Halliburton. And for, I guess, for energy clients, a strong digital core is at the heart of any kind of reinvention strategy, and OSDU data platform is that strong digital core. The industry has been plagued by data issues for decades, and I think it's now or never to address these. And to be honest, I don't see that there's a plan B to deliver the innovation that our industry needs. And so as such, very much looking forward to the discussion today.
Great, thank you, Emma. It's great to have you with us. I shall hand over to Alexander.
Hello, thanks a lot. Happy to join. Thanks for the invite and the advantage or the opportunity to speak about our OSDU experience with SLB and our partners. I'm myself, Alexander Neber, based out of Vienna in Austria. Been with SLB for 15 years now. In the last 7 to 8 years, I mainly worked with around digital transformation, first internally and externally, and with our open software developer group. So I bring in a bit of experience with startups, smaller vendors and accredited vendors, and how to form partner and ecosystems. In the last 2.5 years, I focused my attention on the OSDU business development, where I also work with our clients, customers, who are then becoming our partners in OSDU, as well as partners such as Microsoft and IBM to bring the technology to our clients. It's not only the technology as well, right? It's about changing IT landscapes into an insights-driven business environment. That's what we're going to discuss in the next hour.
Excellent. Thank you, Alexander. And I'll hand to Kadri.
Thanks, Megan. I would like to start by thanking to CGG, not inviting to this panel, but being one of the first ISVs that believed in OSDU. In fact, in the early days of OSDU, when we just had a prototype, basically CGG built as a Jupyter notebook that uses the well log that sits in that prototype and does some automated interpretation on log data. So thanks again for that. This was in the first few months of OSDU. It was literally building the airplane while it was flying kind of situation. So this is Kadri Umay, and I'm a principal architect. I report to our CTO for energy, and I've been involved. I've been in Microsoft for 23 years, worked in different roles all around the world, different geographies, and specifically the last 15 years, I've been working with oil and gas and petrochemical companies. So being part of that industry, being part of the whole transformation in the last 10 years. The last 9 years, I've been part of Microsoft corporate, being part of, based out of Redmond, and then also traveling the rest of the world from Redmond. So before joining Microsoft, I was a process control and automation engineer. So I'm coming more from the OT world and have built a lot of these DCS and PLC-based implementations. So anything from a blast furnace to a refinery, to anything you can imagine. So currently what I do day to day is I'm working with the company to build data platforms for different parts of the energy value chain, and also enabling ecosystem, working with partners and partners like SLB and CGG and others, and SIs like Accenture to land applications on this platform. Anything from oil and gas upstream to carbon to methane and renewables, and actually one of the things we have done in the last couple of years is like move from OSDU being open subsurface to OSDU being an acronym, which covers most of the industry. So it's we'll talk about it in a minute about the extensibility piece of OSDU. And I've been with OSDU right from the beginning, before OSDU was OSDU, as Einar has mentioned. Around 2014 is when we had the first cloud-based storage and cloud-based processing out there, and since been working on this transformation. And I've been heavily involved with the development of our OSDU platform, which is called Microsoft Energy Data Services. So contributing to OSDU and moving from the open source to the supported platform that we just recently released. I do also work with a lot of other industry standard bodies like OPC Foundation. I helped form the PIDEX Emission Transparency Data Exchange. Been with Open Footprint for quite some time, all with the intention that how can we add these new use cases in OSDU to make it deliver the whole end-to-end value chain. And in short, I can say that I'm the chief OSDU advocate inside Microsoft, going towards landing OSDU with our customers and with our partners. So thanks again, Meghan, for CGG for inviting and being part of the OSDU journey day one.
Oh, you're very welcome. It's a really exciting time for everybody involved. And thank you for sharing that introduction. I think, we can hear that someone being right there from the start are going to have really valuable contributions to make today as well. And last but not least, I'll hand to Tom.
Thanks, Meg. Hi, everyone. So I'm Tom Hewitt. I head up Data Hub in CGG. I'm also the CGG OSDU focal point now. I was involved in EDS early on, external data sources, and then operator data definitions. And now we've got a whole team of people out in all of the subcommittees of each data type working on data model adoption, which is one of the topics I'll talk about in a moment. I was a geo originally, a geologist, and I've worked maybe 10 years now in software development projects and product owner type roles, working with clients and building systems. I'm still really heavily involved in the data system architecture that we operate, which I can talk about a little bit later on. And we did a big transformation of CGG's non-seismic data into a data model. So we built that data model out and showed it to clients, and a lot of them were really interested in how we did that. So this has been the journey that led to the formation of our kind of data hub services and technology group. Yeah, thanks, Meg.
Okay, thanks, Tom. Okay, thank you, panelists. And I just wanted to give the audience a quick reminder that we're really keen to keep this as interactive as possible. We're keen to hear your thoughts and comments, so please feel free to submit any comments and questions in the chat as we're going as well. So I'm going to go into our first question, and this is for Einar from Equinor. Can you describe Equinor's appetite for changes that a move to OSDU would require?
Okay, thank you for that. That was a big question when I was pondering over it over the weekend. But I think I want to take us back to roughly 2016, because then it was clear to Equinor that, okay, what we now call digital transformation was something that basically we had to do something about. And it was all the new business models, the Ubers, the Airbnb, of course, that gave some sort of an indication of there was change in the coming, put it that way. And of course, also bringing this into change processes with respect to how we work and how we orchestrate and organize our various workflows was clear. So one of the decisions that was made back then was that, yes, we need to have a data platform. And that platform now has the name Omnia, and it's basically built on Microsoft Azure. And we're also aware that most of our business data was trapped in various applications. And of course, liberating that data, those data, was the key to take and harvest value from them. So the first, say, subsurface related use case, put it that way, was something we call the reservoir experience platform, that we basically where we migrated a lot of data from the primary subsurface applications into a data lake, organized it, did a lot of, say, cleaning, cleansing, organized quality, and get a taste of also how complicated this kind of work was. And at the same time, we had the visualization, and the business embraced it because it made the work days, even though it was a visualizer of stuff they already new, but so that gave us the first, say, a good footprint, we'll put it that way, back in 2017, so 2018. So when then Shell reached out in 2018, there was no problem for us to say, yes, this is something that we are more than happy to collaborate on. And we see also, based on our own experience, that this was a major undertaking. And of course, also to make it valuable for, say, for more than one company, collaboration and industrialization was the keyword. So that was the, and of course, so we were on the track, and of course, moving us towards better use of data was the key. So where are we now? Of course, yes, we have an operational instance of the OSDU data platform, as on the maturity level it is. We have, or we are basically running what we call an interoperability testing or lab or proof of concept together with some key vendors. They know who they are, they were part of it, and I think that also brings us forward. And we are also contributing actively to the forum. I think that if it's, and we regard it as one of our strategic bets. I think if we look into something, what might be more difficult, of course, is this, that end users, say, how to onboard end users on a journey that is very tech oriented. So that's one of the areas where we think that we have challenges to move it forward. So to try to sum up, so I think that yes, we have an appetite for the change, but of course we also recognize that this change process is much more demanding than maybe techies like myself like them to be. It's a lot of human work that needs to be done, and of course it also involves, say, one thing is to say re-architect the data part, but also the application ecosystem has to change, as you need applications that take advantage of the new data sets in a better way. So I think I'll leave it with that for the intro, and yeah, move on. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing that sort of background and story to where you're at now. It's really great for us to hear an operator's perspective as well. You mentioned that the business embraced the vision and that made it a bit easier. Can I just ask how you found it, the uptake at sort of more team level? Did you have more challenges around that, or everybody in the companies embraced that vision?
To say that everybody embraced it, I think what we see is that you have I'd say the hardcore, say, the closer you come to IT, maybe the more embraced it is. But at the same time, I think also that our senior leadership in the business and the business units, they see that, yes, we need to bring the business forward. We need to have a better utilization of the data we have. And so it goes directly into, say, the importance of having, say, quality decision-making require quality data. I think it's that simple. And without quality, knowing the quality of the data, the business will struggle, and we spend a lot of time looking for data to be trusted. And since a lot of data set lack provenance in the old way, yeah, you spend a lot of time to do rework because you don't trust work done by others, because, okay, what was their assumption? What was their facts? Putting that they derive their own conclusions from is not known. And that is things that OSDU help us with its lineage mechanisms and the ability to basically evolve, say, insight and capture insights as we move on.
Thank you. That point around trusting data, I think, is really key. And I think given that point, sorry, panelists, I'm going to mix up the order, and I'm actually going to move to our question that we had for Tom, because I think that kind of focuses on that trust and lineage that's there with data. So Tom, we were going to ask you around CGD
I've lost Megan. Anyone else?
Yeah, I think so as well.
Yeah. Same
Yeah.
here.
Am I back?
Yes, she
Yes,
was
yes,
back.
you're back. I mean,
Sorry, maybe I muted myself in my excitement of mixing things up there. So yeah, just given what Einar was saying there around people trusting the data, I think it could be quite timely to move to our question to you and just change our order. Sorry, Alexander, I will come back to you after, I promise. But Tom, we're going to discuss around what Data Hub focuses on and building data creation solutions, how disruptive that transition to OSDU has been in your business model, and maybe particularly around that sort of trusting of data as well.
Well, I liked what Einar said about data trapped in applications, right, in different application silos. Obviously, OSDU as a platform is really designed around solving that problem, liberating that data into different applications through APIs and so on from one kind of central storage. But there's another layer, right, which is the data that's trapped inside files, documents. You know, we look inside an asset in the projects we're working on, and there could be 800,000, even 1.5 million files in one asset, and this is the non-seismic kind of random data that people build up inside an asset. PDFs, obviously, Excel files, CSVs, documents, databases, but also things like PowerPoints. There's lots and lots of, thank you Microsoft, lots of Office documents are used as data stores. They're awesome tools, but people obviously misuse them and use them as data stores. So really what we're focused on is going into all of those files and pulling all the data out, right? And trying to do so and retain trust and lineage and QC, all of that result. We do this using a data model that we've built. So we've got maybe 400 data types represented in the data model, ranging from, you know, pure geology, core interpretation, geochemistry, through to engineering, reservoir engineering, drilling engineering, about 400 of those level of data types. So because we use our own data model, OSDU could seem a bit of a threat, right? It could be a problem for us because it's going to come along and it's going to introduce a new data model. So we decided pretty early on, through, you know, working on EDS, working in operator data definitions, that we were going to contribute that data model out to OSDU. So we've basically opened that whole data model up and said, we're quite happy to give this away, right? And there's obviously two reasons for that. One is to accelerate OSDU development, and the other one, selfishly speaking about business, is we would love our data model to be fully adopted because we already have the ingestion logic into that data model. So the closer we can make OSDU, the better we're placed to continue to ingest data in. But either way, we will basically move on this transition, working through each of the DDMS subcommittees, adopting or agreeing with the data model that's contributed, or contributing our own data model, and then running ingestion into that data model. Now, that's kind of future state because it's not all there yet. So what we're doing in the meantime is picking up components of OSDU, particularly file manifest, lineage, QC and technical assurance. And we're picking up those objects that have been designed by, like, for example, the team at Exxon for the technical assurance, and fully adopting them in our workflow. And this is because one of the key messages our customers are saying is, we will not run any more projects unless the result is fully OSDU. So I think that's a really nice push from the operators to say, we want this, we need the data to be future-proofed. If we're gonna, even if we run a project today into our own data model because it's a staging area and the OSDU equivalent is not ready yet, they want the lineage and the tech assurance to be fully OSDU compliant on day one, right? That's something that's really hard to go back. Once you've ingested a load of files and you have not generated the lineage and the file manifest, it's very difficult to go back because you've got a unique ID for each object. So we're doing that right now today, and we're also putting commitments in place with customers that we will basically transition their data into the equivalent OSDU data model. So I think it's requiring a lot of resource, it's requiring a lot of developers, it's requiring a lot of people committing time into the OSDU subcommittees. But hopefully by the end of all of this, and working with many other vendors and operators, we can reach a point where there's a full data model, all the applications are connected, and we have, you know, robust ways of bringing data in and tracking the lineage of that data and the tech assurance on that data. And the final point I make is that you know, clients seem to really want, as Einar sort of alluded to, clients really want to see use cases, actual concrete use cases. Data moving from storage through ingestion, through different QC processes into applications in a way that can be fully trusted by an end user. Because at the end of the day, all of this is really designed for a geo to use and access data.
Great. Thank you, Tom. Thanks for sharing that. And I think what you're saying, this push and commitment that's coming from operators is really helping drive this forward. And I think this theme around use cases, you know, could really support in smaller companies, consultants getting involved and having their input as well with that. So thank you, Tom. And I think you're touching sort of there on everyone working together. And I think that's a really nice theme that's coming out of OSDU. And I'm sure we'll hear that through the panelists as well, that just, you know, different operators, service companies, everybody coming together for this common goal here is really great. And this, I think, moves nicely into a question we had for Alexander from SLB. So do you think OSDU compliant solutions provided by a third-party service like SLB will provide the optionality and interoperability needed to accelerate OSDU adoption?
It's a question which Einar and Tom already addressed, right? Partly in their communication or in their pieces earlier. To liberate data and pass the data into applications and the results back to the OSDU platform, the data can't be locked into a single vendor application. All vendors have to work together, I believe, and we believe at SLB, and have to contribute to the OSDU to make that happen, and to enable the vision which the operators actually had in 2017, that to collaborating on a common data platform such as OSDU, open source, available for the whole industry and beyond the energy industry, will make a step change and helps data to become a key decision or role in decision-making processes. What we did in SLB, we joined the OSDU in 2018. We contributed in the months to come core storage, indexing and ingestion services, optimized the access to data by adding some of our proprietary data formats into it as well. And in March 21, most people might remember the Mercury release, which was the first commercial in quotation mark OSDU release, which was available. There was 70% of the source code was contributed by SLB, and that has not changed much in the last year since then. In the whole contribution was around 200 person years back then. And in the years to come, we contribute up to 15 resources into the OSDU in the different work streams and management committees, which also adds up another 100 person years or person days a year to the OSDU contribution. And that shows the commitment we're having as SLB to the OSDU. And in any of our applications, we always have the community code at the core, which is non-technically said a collection of microservices and APIs, right? It's a data foundation, and we build on top a production-grade OSDU data platform, which is ready for business, and that addresses the needs of the data management population and the data engineers, as well as the needs of the end users, which is the business, the geoscientists, the petrophysicists, and so on and so forth. And it's a data platform which needs to be ready for business. And it also enables, and that's why the data can't be locked into a vendor application, because there's a diversity in applications in each of our customers. And they want to look at the data from many workflows and many business processes. And they need the key extension to enable the end user workflows supporting any OSDU compatible application. So the OSDU communicator code requires a workspace on top, workflows to unlock these efficiencies that generate business value, because just storing data in another repository won't do the job. You need to curate the data, you need to QC it to make it available to everybody. And also what Einar said, that nobody trusts the data from somebody else. I totally agree. I'm a geologist. I would never trust the geophysics interpretation without double checking. Same goes for the petrophysicist who uses my data. And these are all these business inefficiencies which we have to overcome as an industry to go forward. So we have to pass the data in applications back to OSDU, and we can't lock it into a specific vendor application, if that answers the question.
Yes, it does. Thank you. And that's a really impressive number that SLB are contributing here, 100 person years 100-person days per year. I guess that just shows the commitment again. And this is, companies that are taking this on just to contribute to this with everybody. It's it's just great to hear and see. Thank you, Alexander. I'm now going to move to Kadri from Microsoft. And would you be able to share with us a little bit more about the OSDU to Microsoft Energy Data Services transition in Microsoft?
Sure. Thanks, Megan. Like before that, I mean, looking into the questions in the chat and the questions that I've been getting in the last couple of years, I think people are most probably asking the question, what's different with OSDU? I mean, we've been through, so there was something related to PPDM and a couple of other things. So why it's different and why it's going to be successful this time, why it's different. So I really like that question. I would like to start put a few words around that. So first and foremost, I think what the panelists have spoken until now is it's not just a data standard for upstream. I mean, that's where we started, but it's not just another data standard. But I think I want to underline this word. It's a collaborative effort to solve the data liberation and application integration problem. And we went far ahead to do everything from putting the data standards and collaborating with every single entity under the sun and going all the way to implementing a reference implementation and open sourced it. Again, like thanks to SLB for bringing all that experience, thanks to Shell for bringing the initial code and everyone, as I said, working together. And I think what's important here is I want to underline that collaboration, that alignment is I see OSDU as a whole industry coming together, which is very different. And when we are in OSDU, when we have the OSDU hat, and when we get together, we don't see each other as competitors or that kind of stuff. We are working together, and everyone, when we're working under the OSDU community hat, we know that we're solving this problem for the industry, for the data and application integration problem, and it's for the whole industry's benefit. So we really want to solve that problem. And everyone understands that we can't be successful if we don't do this. It's an opportunity for all of us. So I think the collaboration piece and everyone working together without any second concerns or without anything, bring the best of them into this. That's what's different. And also the other thing that's different is not just setting a standard, but implementing and showing the world that's how it's done. I talked about the demo that we did in 3 months' time at the beginning. That was the beginning, and then since then we have all these releases, and now we have Mercury released, we have the M17 just released or to be released. So that's the difference. I mean, we want to make it. We want to have it working. And as I said, the other thing is like, and we've been discussing this through the panelists, and the panelists were providing the same sort of information. I think we want to build this to solve real world problems. So that's why the first iteration of OSDU was 8 operators, and then later others coming together and then putting their problems. So that they were just telling us, okay, so we have all these problems, and this is the legacy way of doing this. We have siloed data, every application have their own API, etc. But we want to solve this problem. This is the workflow that you want you guys to go and develop it and then get back to us. So then we get back into the room with the operators, with the ISVs, with SIs and everyone, standard bodies. And then we wanted to solve these workflows by digital transforming these workflows, and then open sourcing them, and then working with ISVs so that they can run on this. And then while doing this, sometimes we had like daily conversations. There's a continuous feedback. So again, like coming back to the collaboration, we're collaboratively building this, and also the ISVs are part of the community. So like day one, as I said, we had like 3 ISVs day one when we had the demonstration, and there's a reason for that. So when we get out with OSDU as a platform and as a standard, we want a set of ISVs that have their applications running on this platform day one to run these workflows so that it delivers the expectations of the operators. So one thing, so in our journey from OSDU to having it as a product, which is called Microsoft energy data services, MEDS, and we're in the transition to change that name to Azure Data Manager for Energy. But coming from a software development company, been working for the last 23 years, and also being an architect, I tend to look into the non-functional requirements, which are as important as, probably not more important, I mean, than the functional features. So we can deliver the functional features, but we have to have these non-functional requirements. By that, what I mean is like enterprise readiness in short. So we've been dealing with the large enterprises, including the operators, for decades, and what they've told us, like, security is important, scalability is important, resilience is important, and manageability, all these kind of things that are important. And then what they've told us is like, you have to deliver all of these, and then you, Microsoft, you better be behind this by signing an SLA with us, like you've been doing for Azure SQL or Cosmos or other products that we have on Azure and other products for many years. So we do not think of OSDU differently than those products. We have to support it, and we have to with a financially backed up SLA. And they said this is the only way that we can put this kind of a platform in production. And production, I mean, not production in an oil and gas sense. It might be confusing, but in an IT sense. So dev, test, and production, kind of production. And then that's our day one goal. So that's what we've been testing. And you might imagine this is a very complicated process in Microsoft to get an idea, build a product, and put it in production, because we have literally hundreds of millions of users and trillions of attacks per day, all that kind of fun. So we have a very complicated process that runs through this, which gets sign-off from every single business unit in Microsoft, including marketing and sales and training, learning, and security, and whatever. So actually, we released an article which is called Enabling Launch Optimization at Microsoft. It's written by Fred Jordan, our VP of Operations Planning and Launch. That explains, like, literally part of the process. We also have a lot of internal things. And what we did is we built this day one. We built an engineering team and got OSDU. It's the same OSDU. It's the same open source code, and run through that process and hardened it and make it scalable, and did a lot of investments to make it enterprise ready. And then that's what Microsoft Energy Data Services is. So that was the biggest transition we had. And then we got all that engineering experience, and we also contributed back to OSDU, change certain things, and work with our partners, and etc. And then I think the other thing that's important for us is for day one with OSDU scenarios. So starting R1, we tested with our customers, I mean, day one. So we got R1, we tested with a set of customers. We got R2, we tested with customers. Then when we transitioned to Energy Data Services, so we're continuously testing with real world workflows and customers. So and hopefully, I mean, it's a public preview today, but when we get to the general availability, we want to put it in IT production platforms as soon as it gets general availability. That's what we're targeting. And we have improved the deployment experience, so it's not different than any Azure service. Click, and you got the installation. The other thing we did is we engaged with a large ecosystem of partners. So we started with SLB. It's the first time we developed this thing called a co-built engagement, where SLB and Microsoft engineers worked in literally same virtual rooms. It was the COVID timeframe, unfortunately. But right after that, we worked in the same room, and then we have a lot of out-of-the-box integration with SLB Delphi and ODRS and other platforms. So, for instance, Petrel today could read and write directly from a MEDS environment. And then also, while going through this process, we asked our customers testing OSDU and MEDS, what's their high priority applications. We got those highest priority 10 applications from each of them, and then we involved them. We enabled them on MEDS. So when we get MEDS as general availability, all of these applications will be running out of the box. So there's a lot of investment that also went into that front. And lastly, We have also built connectors that integrate with Microsoft productivity platform, whether it's Dynamics or whether it's Microsoft 365. We released a Power BI connector with the public preview where you can test and provide dashboard, etc. And we also have demonstrated connectors to Power Apps and chatbots and Teams and whatnot. So both sides, and then we're continuously working on this to integrate other services that our customers are using. The last piece I want to talk a few sentences about is our partnership with Accenture. I mean, if you look into OSDU, I call it's an industry-oriented database. So when similar to a database, whenever it's empty, there's no value. You have to have the data and the workflows enabled, and it's also built to be extensible by design. So we can add new features, we can add administrative components, etc. And we've been working with Accenture, which is a great partner for us, and they're an early adopter on MEDS. They have developed solutions on their one platform to enable those functionality on MEDS. So there's been a great partnership that was going on, and also Accenture works with the ISV ecosystem that we have, and we're working with them to develop these OSDU connectors, OSDU extensions to light up those ISVs, some of them. And then I think most importantly, what I want to leave with is Microsoft and Accenture we're partnering for years. And then for almost any service that we release, anything from quantum computing to industrial IoT, Accenture is our largest team user on the planet. We're building a metaverse village for World Economic Forum together. So there's an interesting partnership on all perspectives and very interesting areas. So we want to bring that back to OSDU. Sometimes I call it the Uber OSDU. So provide all this functionality fully integrated with OSDU, with ISVs, with workflows out of the box, and providing all that glue with the final goal of having this platform to support the whole energy value chains end to end, whether it's oil and gas, it's carbon, it's methane, it's renewables, whatever you can imagine under energy. So I'll leave it there, and thanks, Meghan, for giving the opportunity again.
Thanks so much, Kadri, for sharing that. It's been a really interesting journey, and you touched quite a lot on collaboration there. So it's a perfect time to bring Emma into the conversation to chat around that the opportunities when Accenture and Microsoft join forces. So Emma, would you like to elaborate a bit further on that for us?
Yeah, thanks very much, Meghan, and I agree, Kadri. Thank you very much for the partnership. Absolutely, but I think all of the panelists here today have touched on, I guess, how we in Accenture see the entire OSDU journey. So we've talked about the scale of the challenge in terms of the volumes of data that we have, the data complexities, structured, unstructured data, and really just, you know, the fact that, you know, we all, well, I think we generally all agree that the promise of OSDU is to deliver value from that data, but getting the data there is a challenge. So that's one component of how Accenture thinks about it. But I think, as I was sort of touching on in my introduction, you know, OSDU is the foundation of our entire energy strategy, and it's to, I think if I was to summarize probably what you were saying there, Kadri, a little bit, is, you know, Accenture can help connect the IT to the business. You know, Tom, you were talking about use cases and the need to accelerate business value, right? So data to a platform doesn't deliver value in itself. Data in an application doesn't deliver value in itself. But if we can make decisions from the data, or make better decisions and accelerated decisions from the data, and prioritize decisions, then we're going to be delivering value, and we're going to be unlocking the innovation, unlocking the value, the data science on the data. And so I think Accenture, through the MEDS private preview, and using our one platform, as Kadri said, we tested MEDS, and importantly, we've built some accelerators to accelerate that data ingestion, custom schemas, etc., to get data into OSDU and then into MEDS. And we also demonstrated interoperability between Delphi, SEDS wasn't released at the time, but Delphi with a number of our ISV partners. And we continue to develop that, and we continue to onboard and be SEDs and then other ISVs as well. So, and I think that's, data to the platform is data liberation, as the question was, is important. Interoperability is absolutely vital for the success of OSDU, and that's what our customers and the industry is ultimately looking for. So that's how we focus on the technology aspect, if you like, of how Accenture works with our partners, and how Accenture works with Microsoft. But I think increasingly, and most of the panelists touched on this, it's the adoption, it's the change management, it's trusting the data, it's the business readiness, it's the enterprise data strategy, it's the de-risking of the journey, it's business continuity. If we're going from OSDU version 1 to OSDU version 2 in whatever form you would like, how do we ensure that the business can continue to drill wells during that process? And so, understanding what this means from a transformation perspective, and how we can then, I guess, go from use cases to business units to scaling globally, that is no easy task. And I think that is increasingly where the industry is beginning to think, and that's, I guess, in a summary, that's marrying the business with the IT, because for a long time, the OSDU platform and the OSDU development had been very much a bottoms-up type approach, and I guess really sort of pivoting to where we accelerate the business value at the same time as building from the bottoms up is, I think, where the real excitement is, and why I think, as Megan, you said, where we're seeing increased leaning in from the major operators to really sort of get to where we need to get to. Because I guess, as I was saying at the beginning, I think it's now or never. I think if we don't get this going now, we're not going to have the chance. Subsurface teams are shrinking, and there's no plan B. And the industry needs resilience. We need to get to, as Kadri was saying, we need to be able to integrate across the value chain. We need to do that to reduce emissions. We need to do that to support the competitiveness of our business going forward.
Thanks, Emma. You touched on some really great, valuable points in that there. I'm just also going to bring everyone's attention to the chat. The committee dropped a nice summary of the collaboration that's been going on between Accenture and Microsoft in there as well. And Emma, while you're here, kind of touches on what you're saying about how we need to accelerate this and everyone to be involved here. So Matthew Cullen dropped the question saying the data solution has to be collaborative, but how do we speed up the process that has so many people involved? There's more to that question, but I'll just leave it at that there. If any of the panelists want to chip in on this one.
I mean, yeah. I can tell a kind of anecdote, a story of it. So it took some time for us to kind of agree to donate the data model. It was quite a big piece of IP, and there was a debate about whether there was a risk to the business by doing that, which we decided was worth it. We decided to push the whole thing out there and hand it over to OSDU. The moment we did that, 2 other vendors popped up with their data model. So that's why it's slow, right? It's slow because we have to do due diligence, and we have to, when something comes out, it needs to be scrutinized and checked, and there's an opportunity for other people to come in and decide that's the moment that the risks tip and they want to donate something. But I think every OSDU call needs actions. That's what I would say on that. I think on the DDMS side, we need to have clear actions and movement. And the final point is that nothing happens without bringing resource to the table, right? So everybody needs to actually bring resource. You can't drop off a data model and expect it to be implemented. You need to, it's an open source project. You need to drop off the data model and drop off the resource to complete the work packets.
Thanks, Tom. Emma, did you have anything you wanted to add on that? I saw that you were going to speak at the same time there as well.
I absolutely agree with Tom's comments, and I think, and to pick up on Kadri's comments also, I think there's a cultural shift in the industry for the first time, which I think is outstanding, and we know that it's happening both in the forum but even external to the forum as well. Certain operators are banding together around the requirements because they've realized that if they don't all need to build the same thing, and if they work out who's going to build what, we can contribute it back to the forum, and certainly that's how Accenture's investments around accelerators, we co-develop those with our clients, and then we co-develop those with other clients, so we can accelerate and we can all leverage and benefit from one for the other. But I do think, to Tom's point, we could do more if it's prioritized. And I think that the frustration or the challenge is around resources. Is that there has been a lot of resources contributed at different times from different companies along the way. And I think as we increasingly get to, the industry wants to get to production data desperately. And if we can, I guess, get the right resources on the right focus, I think then we should be asking more from ISVs as well as the operators as well.
Also on what Kadri said, it's milestone 17, right, which will be dropped in a couple of weeks. That's 2 months a milestone release, which is not too bad for an organization of 255 equal or 225 equal partners. So there is some progress there, and it's speeding up, as I believe, and it will especially speed up when we're touching new energies, which are at the heart of everybody, I guess, in this panel, that we decarbonize our industry and that we're working all in a direction to reduce the imprint the industry has on our environment.
Yep. And just to 2 points. Of one is the actually the first prototype that we built it sometime in 3 months. I mean, and by built, I mean we designed the API, we built the data models, and then we built the first one. There was three ISVs on it running applications. So OSDU is a different kind of standards organization in that sense. And as I said, this collaboration thing makes it completely different. Yeah, sometimes there's slowness, but it's a different breed of standards body, I would say. So that I just want to say one thing. That's one thing I want to say. And the other thing is sort of like echoing what Emma was saying. Like the whole OSDU concept started with 8 operators bring their pain points and asking the rest of the world to solve their pain points. And I think that culture is going, especially on our side in Microsoft. So whenever there's a new milestone, or whenever there's a new version that we get, and we go through this process and get meds out, and we immediately test it with the customers that we're working with. I mean, immediately. And the operators, they have certain use cases. We kind of like get into the guts of the system and solve those problems, working with Accenture and SLB, and we've been doing this with Equinor for many years. And then we solve those problems, we add those things, and I mean, and first of all, it solves the customer problem, and second, we bring it back to the community to run it through the community. So it's all customer driven, and the same customers exist in the community, and their ultimate goal is to have those as part of the standard as soon as possible, which keeps us on our toes, I would say. So yes, there's a people need to take decisions and come together, but I would say it's a different kind of a more collaborative standards body than we used to have in the past.
Yeah, I want to add one thing to this, and I think that what is also underrated, and that is, we just did for fun. We took an internal database table related to target information and said, okay, it took us an hour to make an OSDU compliant schema. Okay, it's not standardized, but it's a custom schema. And okay, we are able to utilize the platform. Second thing is that, okay, we have something that we need. Okay, share that with the community and say that, okay, are there others here who are interested? Do we need an OSDU representation of a geological target for, say, for the financial maturation of should this be drilled and how should it be ranked and all that kind of stuff. So the platform invites us on its current maturity level to be used, and to be used innovatively, not waiting for data definitions to do all the paperwork up front, but get some schemas, bring them to the table, and let it be driven by applications and use cases that you have. It's there.
Great, thank you everyone for contributing to that. It was a great question. from the audience. I'm conscious of time, but I think this is quite an important question that we've seen sort of in a few themes, and that's what recommendations does the panel have for application developers wanting to innovate with data from the OSDU platform? And in answering, can you take the viewpoint of small company that has not been involved from ongoing development of the platform? I think that's quite key. As Alexander said, there's what, 225 active companies, contributors. So for those that are wanting to get into it and start to accelerate this former, any advice from anyone?
First of all, the code is open source, right? Anybody can download the latest milestone drop and start working on it. Look for the right APIs and then develop technology in it. I think the question is also a bit misleading because it's not data from the OSDU, but data standards and schemas. It's not, some of our clients also have to believe when they join the OSDU, everybody around the world can see that data. It's the data standards which are regulated here and allowing vendors and applications to work on that. So the best starting point is also the joining communities like here. We're happy to set up connections, use the OSDU or this panel here as a networking starter to get into contact with OSDU. And then there's also, I think, some source codes and some recommendations available on the open pages of the OSDU, which will help developing companies to get a head start.
Great, thanks, Alexander. Anybody else want to contribute, or I can follow up?
I guess there's also the marketplace as an area where developers can see what almost like requests or opportunities that are coming forward that they could perhaps be focused on.
Also, to add up, was of course there is also say software service companies like the Accentures that are members and are having skilled resources for that can be approached for help if you want to go that path. So there's a lot of opportunities there.
Yeah. And I also put some links here, which is like there's a full training from SLB, Advanced Application Development Training. It's based on the experience that we had in building the bootcamp training like 3-4 years back. So there's great training available. If you go to AKMS Energy Data Services, you can have a set of Microsoft documentation on how to use it. There's a public preview link which you can click. As I said, we're going to the general availability, and then there's also like some open source projects. I put an example here is from our friends from Equinor. They actually built a Python SDK. So if you do like a PIP install OSDU, and then it's the easiest thing to interact with the OSDU right after that. You don't have to deal with all that complexity and calling REST functions and that sort of stuff. There's some beautiful content out there. Accenture has developed the whole OSDU taxonomy. It's also in GitHub. It's open source. You can go and check that. There's a full database structure. There's so many I think that's the beautiful part. There's so many open source things here, and I think the good thing is the more like there is an engagement from the community, you'll see more of these open source. So feel free to use them, and if you want to release something, just put it in GitHub or GitLab as an open source project if you believe it will add value. And as Alex have mentioned, like if you want to talk to us, be part of the community, please feel free to reach out to us.
Thanks, Kadri. I think given the time, we're bang on the hour mark there. So sorry, I'm not going to ask any more questions. I also think Kadri summarized that really nicely at the end. So maybe I don't need to summarize, but I will say a couple points through all of our panelists' contribution here. We've heard some really like positive words, banding together, collaboration, contributing, everybody benefiting, and especially around this culture shift. And I'm personally really excited that we're involved with this change. And I hope that we brought some more attention to the OSDU and encourage more to be involved in all the ways that the panelists have suggested today as well. So I'd like to take the time to thank our committee who've organized the event, and also our wonderful panelists. We're all on different time zones here, so I really appreciate everyone taking the time today to share this with us as well. As mentioned, we've recorded the session, so it should be available. Look out for email and on our LinkedIn page. And thank you also to our audience for all your participation as well. Okay, thank you, everybody.